Have you inherited a whole bundle of these types of the old-fashioned spools of thread? We all get them from grands, great aunts and everything. They're passed down from generations. And they're too good to resist, aren't they? Because you want to use them in your machine, but they may not be very good for your machine. So I'm going to show you exactly how to test whether these are good for your machine or not. I am Kim. This is Squat with Kim. Let's go check out our test. Okay, now the biggest thing with the older threads, if you've inherited threads, they degrade in time, or cotton degrades in time. Who knew? Well, it does. So we want to check that this thread hasn't degraded. Also, a thread over time gets quite linty as well and can leave fluff in your machine. That's a secondary problem, but the first problem that I wanted to cover off in this video is it strong enough to go through your machine? Has it degraded? Because if it's degraded and it's not strong enough to go through your machine, then you really shouldn't be putting it in your machine because it'll break. And even if it doesn't break in your machine, once you've stitched your things together with it, it'll break at that point, and we don't want that. So it's a really quick and easy test, but I'm going to compare it against modern threads as well, just to give you a compare and contrast. So these are just two that I found when I was having a clear out. This particular one is Silco, and this one is, should have put my glasses on, Two-Tell. So these are the ones that I've got here. So the best thing to do, let's put that on the shelf behind me, is wrap it round your fingers. Okay, first thing, and then give it a tug. And if it is pulling against your fingers and not breaking, so I can feel pressure on my fingers and it's not really breaking. If I pull hard enough, it will break. But there's quite a lot of pressure on my fingers. So that's probably fine. It's probably sturdy enough to utilize. So let's compare this against the black one here. So if I do the same thing with this, I've wrapped it around my fingers. Can you see there? And I give it a tug and it just comes away really, really easily. I do not want to be putting that in my machine. In fact, I don't really want to be stitching up any seams with it because you sit down with that. Not that you should be using cotton in clothes, but anything that's under any kind of pressure, that'll just break, and we don't want that. That's the end of that cotton. It's thrown itself away. Compare that with this is a modern Gutermann cotton thread. If I do the same test with that one, so I've wrapped it around my fingers, I give it a pull, and I can already feel that it is really pulling against my fingers and it's hurting a little bit on my fingers. That's kind of what you want to get to. I'm not saying hurt yourself, but as it's pulling against your fingers, that's got some strength to it. And if I pull it, it will break. It's a cotton thread, so yes, of course I can break it, but you want that tension on your fingers. If I compare that with a polyester, just to give you a bit of contrast. So this is a Gutermann polyester. So if you try this at home, in fact, do try this at home, wrap this around my fingers, and if I pull, there's quite a lot of tension needed to pull that, and it's really hurting my fingers now. But even some of the old polyesters, try this test, because if it breaks, so that was a lot of tension to break that. If it breaks really easily, you really don't want that. So remember that we're using cotton thread generally with our quilting, and anything else we tend to use polyester. So if you're making clothes, if you're making bags or anything like that, you'll be using a polyester thread, and these things are going to be under strain and under tension. So we want our thread to be strong enough to deal with that. The same thing goes if you have been given all those tiny little spools of threads that you get whole bundles of them for next to nothing from the craft stores or off market stalls, or somebody's gifted you those things and they've got their little paper reels inside. Just try that test on them, whether it's cotton or polyester. I'm now going to get dents in my finger. Can you see I've got dents in my fingers? Can you see it there? I can't quite get it on camera. That's kind of what we should be aiming for, the dents in our fingers. Can you see that? Just there. That's what we're aiming for. That shows it's a strong thread. So if you've got any thread at all that you're unsure of, do that strength test on it. Just as an aside, the cheaper brands, those little spools that you get, the unbranded ones, they tend to have lots of lint on them as well, and we really don't want those in our machine. They're not very good for our machine. So I would avoid those and use one of the brand names, whether it's Gutermann, whether it's Mettler, or whether the other top end brands, or the trustworthy brands, and they will be fine for you. So hope that has helped. Maybe go and check what threads that you've got and ditch the ones that you can't use, or use them for basting or a bit of decorative hand stitching, and they'll be fine for that. I hope that has helped. If it has, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.